All right, ladies and gentlemen, microphone check 1, 2. I want to welcome y'all to a Happy Hour Network special. This is my preview of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to thank everybody for their continued support of me and of this platform. Um, I decided to do this just because people been asking me, and I get a lot of basketball stuff. So I said, why not? Why not do a Cleveland Cavaliers preview show? As y'all know, the past Club Pizzle, I did my NBA outlook and where I thought that the Cavaliers would finish. As y'all know, if y'all didn't catch that, please, either on the Facebook account or on right here on YouTube or on Twitch or on the Happy Hour Network Facebook account. I will be posting that, and I mean it's posted, so y'all can go and take a look at that and see where I had the Cleveland Cavaliers finishing this year. And also, I am going to be taking your questions. Thank you to everyone who sent me in a question. I greatly appreciate it. Now, I'm not going to hold y'all long simply because I'm not going to hold y'all long. This really doesn't take a lot, and it's just me doing this. I'm hoping to get more people or more guests when I do these little specials just to do some interviews with some people and I can talk some basketball and I can talk some other little things, but especially Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. It's something I want to talk about. Um, I might do a bunch of just these and talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers because I am a huge Cleveland Cavaliers fan. Was born a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. Yes, I do also root for the Los Angeles Lakers. Anybody who knows me knows that. But I'm sticking with the hometown here. I want to talk about my hometown team. So let's do it. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Last season was one of those where you know the expectation. I don't. It's tricky because last off season was a hell of an off season. Acquiring Donovan Mitchell. Um, that speeded up a process where I felt like, and I've been saying it, and I said it at the 2021-22 season, that they were 2 years ahead of schedule, which meant that team I don't think should have made the play in, or I don't think at least I didn't think that they were going to make the play in tournament, which they did, and they got bounced by the Atlanta Hawks. There we go. That's a better picture. Now I got to figure out how to get these wires. I need a wireless mic or a headset mic. Something I might invest in. But drafted Evan Mobley after having Darius Garland, trading for Jared Allen, drafting Isaac Okoro, still having Kevin Love around. I'm thinking that 21-22 team is like, all right, they'll just be fun to watch. They might win 30 games, 35 games, and be on the outside looking in when it came to the play-in tournament. Colin Sexton, too. Let me not forget Colin Sexton, since y'all think I hate Colin Sexton, which is not the case. But that team showed a lot. When Colin Sexton got hurt, Darius Garland emerged as a playmaker and a killer. Jared Allen had his best season. He became an all-star that year. And JB Bickerstaff had this young team rolling. You had a young Isaac Okoro. You had Evan Mobley, who you could just see the potential bursting out of him. And it was Kevin Love coming up big, Dean Wade, other players. Now, fast forward to last summer, last offseason, and it was like, all right, this team took a step. What can this team do to be better, or what can this team do to improve off of their playing appearance and getting bounced in the play and losing to Brooklyn and then losing to Atlanta at home? I thought like Kobe Altman had to make a splash. And I said it in May of last year before the season even ended. Would you go and get Donovan Mitchell? A lot of people out there said no. I got called everything but my name. I got on my show, Club Pizzle, and I said it like, hey, I'm going after Donovan Mitchell if I'm Kobe Altman. And I'm trading Colin Sexton to do it. And Kobe Altman, what did he do? He went out and got Colin Sexton. I thought the trade that was made, I didn't think that was going to be the trade. I thought we probably lose Okoro and maybe Kevin Love and some other guys, but they didn't. They traded Colin Sexton. They traded the guy that they drafted out of Kansas, Abaji, and a bunch of draft picks, which y'all know what I'm saying. F them picks, right? F them picks. And Kobe Altman went out and made that move. So then it was like, all right, they're not 2 years ahead. Now, this team can make the top 4 and get to the second round. They got the top 4. They won 51 games last year. Yes, 51. And they were the 4 seed, home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. And they were bounced by the New York Knicks in 5 games. Not only bounced, but kind of embarrassed. Now, granted, the New York Knicks were the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the NBA last year. And they showed it in that first round series against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat up a young Cavaliers team. With the exception of Donovan Mitchell, a lot of those guys hadn't seen the playoffs. Kevin Love, they bought him out. They were looking to guys like Lamar Stevens and Dean Wade to fill that role. Dean Wade never got himself back together after he was injured last year. And Lamar Stevens, whom everyone in Cleveland seemed to love so much, and I'm not the biggest Lamar Stevens fan, as you all know. Ricky Rubio came back from injury. Karis LeVert at the trade deadline in 22. But y'all knew, it just didn't happen. Jared Allen got punked. Evan Mobley, they kind of dared him to beat him, and there were times I went to the first two games down at Rocket Mortgage, and it was not pretty. Well, the first game, it wasn't pretty. The second game, they got the blowout. But there were times where Evan Mobley was kind of missing in action. So it was like, all right, this is year 2 for him. So that brings us to now. This team in the offseason, Kobe Altman was moving and shaking. Let's just look at the roster, and I'll talk about the additions. We'll start with our top 6, or the 6 that were here a year ago. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert. Those were the 6 for the most part that saw a lot of action. Also on this team, you have Dean Wade, who's looking to bounce back. You have Isaiah Mobley, whose name I haven't heard a lot in this preseason. I don't know if he's gonna see the rotation. Not sure. Maybe, hopefully. Pictured in this picture, Sam Merrill is another guy who I saw a lot of. He played for the Cleveland Charge, and he's a shooter. He's your 3-point. He can be your 3-point specialist. He can be your 3-point marksman. If you come to a situation where you need a three, Sam Merrill can get it to you. Who else is on that team from last year? I think those were it for the most part. The additions to this team in the offseason, they signed Max Strus, George Niang, they brought in Ty Jerome, Damian Jones, and they drafted Imoni Bates, who might be the steal of the draft. I'll have more on him later. And they brought in Craig Porter Jr. to go with Garland, Mitchell, Okoro, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Dean Wade, Isaiah Mobley. Subtracted from the team, Jetty Osman. He was here for 6 years, 7 years. Thank you, Jetty. But you got to go, buddy. Lamar Stevens, Danny Green, Robin Lopez, Raul Neto, Dylan Windler, and Mamadi Diakite, who all saw action for the Cavaliers last year. Dylan Windler and Mamadi Diakite, I saw a lot of playing for the Cleveland Charge. Dylan Windler had been in Cleveland for a while, and him playing for the Cleveland Charge was the most action that he got. That's facts. Like, you can look it up. He rarely played with the Cavs. I don't ever remember him playing in a Cleveland Cavaliers game, even in blowouts. I don't remember seeing him. So, they subtracted a lot and they added a lot. Let's look at him. Max Strus from Miami, Eastern Conference champion Miami. He was an undrafted guy. He worked his way into a starting role on the defending Eastern Conference champions, and he parlayed that into a nice little contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, salute. He's going to be fighting. Well, I don't think he's going to be fighting for minutes. I believe he might end up being the starting small forward. He might be over Isaac Okoro. I know JB Bickerstaff loves Isaac Okoro. Isaac Okoro is the most athletic player on the Cleveland Cavaliers. His athleticism is through the roof. But the big issue with Isaac Okoro is his shooting, his learning to shoot, and his reluctance to shoot when he's open. There were times last year where Isaac Okoro was open in the corners and on the wings, and he just didn't take the shots. But a guy like Max Strus is going to take those shots. George Niang from the Philadelphia 76ers, another guy who can step out and shoot, defend a little bit. Big body guy, can defend probably 3, 4, and maybe the 5. Ty Jerome, who I know not a lot about. I don't know too much about him. I just know that he's one of those guys that Cleveland fans are going to fall in love with. And if he is Darius Garland's backup point guard, he'll see a little bit of minutes. They're going to love him. Damian Jones, big body guy. We don't have a lot of bigs on this team. I mean, look at it. It's really just Mobley, Allen, Isaiah Mobley, Damian Jones. How they're going to rotate them, I don't know. Imoni Bates and Craig Porter Jr. Craig Porter Jr., I believe they signed to a two-way along with Isaiah Mobley and Imoni Bates. Craig Porter Jr. is could have a future spot in the rotation as Darius Garland's backup. We got him in the G League, and we'll see how he plays down there. And same thing with Imoni Bates. Imoni Bates drafted 49th. he very well may be the steal of this draft if everything goes the way that his trajectory was just not even 4 years ago. This guy was on Sports Illustrated. He was the number one high school player. He was the number one guy in this draft class over the Victor Wembanyama's, over the Scoot Hendersons, over the Thompson twins, over all of these guys. And, he come out of high school, goes to Memphis, didn't quite find his footing there. I believe Coach Penny Hardaway had him playing out of position. He was playing the point guard out there, and that's not his best position. But he left there. He got into a little bit of trouble. I believe he got homesick. If I ever get an opportunity to talk to him and ask him, I'm going to ask him, was he homesick? Because you got to think, this guy enrolled at the University of Memphis at 17 years old. He was still a kid. He was still a baby. He just happens to have world-class basketball abilities. And going to Memphis, getting injured, and probably got homesick. He ended up going back and playing for Eastern Michigan. He ran into a little bit of trouble. Y'all know the story. I don't even have to get into the story. It was resolved, and his draft stock plummeted for whatever reason. And thank goodness, Kobe Altman saw him on the draft board at 49 and decided to take a chance on him. I believe this is a low risk, high reward addition. And he's on the two-way with the Cleveland Charge, so I'm going to see him. But that's the roster. Other things, the offense has changed according to Coach JB Bickerstaff. We'll see. We are going to see. I'm excited. I'm seriously excited for this team and for what they can do and what steps they can take. I am just to see a Darius Garland, see what he's gonna do, see can he improve on what he did last year. Donovan Mitchell, another year older, getting ready to reach his prime at the age of 27. Jared Allen, who's injured and will be back soon, get well soon, Big J, and Evan Mobley. I am the most excited about Evan Mobley of anybody on this Cleveland Cavaliers team because you can see it. I saw it while he was at USC. I saw you could see the potential. He's on the floor, he stands out, not because he's tall. It's just the ability, it's his basketball instinct, it's his knack to make the right move. You could see the wheels turning in his brain on what he needs to do. Defensively, he already has it. He has multiple defensive player of the year potential. He could go on a run about 4-5 of them, y'all. He has that potential. You can see that. You can see it bursting out of him. I saw it in his rookie year. Now, the offense, he can work on. And I've said this repeatedly on Club PIZZLE. If Evan Mobley was drafted by the Detroit Pistons, or if he was drafted by the Houston Rockets, or maybe even the Toronto Raptors, he would already be like a 2010, a 25-10 guy. But he has the luxury of being drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, who had a scoring threat in Darius Garland, who had a scoring threat at that time with the Colin Sexton. And you had a guy like Kevin Love that can bring him along slowly. So we can see the gradual evolution of Evan Mobley. Is this the year where he becomes 2010? I thought it was last year, and that's me fast tracking because I can see the potential in him. I can see everything in him. I see the finished product in Evan Mobley already. The finished product in Evan Mobley is best defensive player in the NBA, perimeter and interior defender. And I also see a guy who can average 25, 26, 10 to 12 rebounds, 4 or 5, 3, 4 blocks. I ain't going to say 4 or 5 because averaging 4 or 5 blocks in the NBA would be absolutely nuts, right? MVP candidate, top 10, top 5 player, all NBA, all defensive. I can see Evan Mobley being at some point somebody saying this is the best player in the NBA. I see that. A lot of other experts and talking heads can see the same thing. That potential is bursting out of him. Whoo, Lord. Don't let me get started. So what I did earlier today or earlier on Monday, I'm sorry, this is coming out. This is a Tuesday where I'm dropping this. But I asked you guys to send me questions, and I have a couple of questions here. Let's start. Is the Eastern Conference Finals realistic for this team, and is it a championship caliber team? Championship caliber? Yes. I think so. Yes. Is the Eastern Conference Finals realistic? It's a realistic goal. I just don't think that they'll make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard and a healthy Chris Middleton and the Lopez twins and that team they have up there and Coach Adrian Griffin, that they are going to be there. And I think the Boston Celtics, by adding Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Al Horford and giving Joe Mazzulla, another year with this bunch, I think those two teams make the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's not taking anything away from the Cleveland Cavaliers and what the Cleveland Cavaliers are. Yes, I'm a fan, but I'm also realistic. Can they get to the Eastern Conference Finals? I say yes. Do they get there? No. Next question, do Allen and Mobley improve? I think Jared Allen just at this point is what he is. He's going to be a guy who can give you 12 to 15 points a game and get you 10 to 15 rebounds a game. And that's okay. Oh, I forgot they added Tristan Thompson too. My bad, y'all. Tristan is just a locker room guy. I just thought about that. Somebody would be reminding me in the comments, or somebody would be, you forgot Tristan Thompson. So, again, do I think Jared Allen, he just is what he is. They're never going to call plays for him. He is the guy, he's just the man in the middle who's going to grab rebounds and play a little bit of defense and get all his points off of alley-oops and pick and rolls and offensive rebounds. And Evan Mobley, yes, I believe he improves. He went, he's on that trajectory. Like he's in year 3. This is year 3. Again, 20 and 10 or 18 to 20 and 10. And a few blocks, and he wins Defensive Player of the Year. If you ask me, I already picked him to win Defensive Player of the Year. So that's that question. What's my next question here? How long should we keep Bates in the G League if our off-season signings play well? If they play horrible, do we rush them? I think the Cavaliers are in a great spot to have a guy like Emoni Bates, to get him in the second round and still add a Max Strus and a George Niang to go with Isaac Okoro and Karis LeVert. So that position is pretty much stopped. And you have the luxury to have Emoni Bates on a 2-way deal where you can get him reps down in the G League and let these guys play. And let Niang and Strus play. I think what it's going to boil down to is Isaac Okoro. What do you do with Isaac Okoro? This is his contract year. And we know how guys perform in their contract year. Isaac Okoro may just go crazy, and that would be a bonus because the Cavaliers, that would mean that let's just in this scenario, perfect scenario, Donovan Mitchell continues to average his 28 and 10. Darius Garland, 19 and whatever. Mobley with his 20, 18 to 20. Allen giving you 16. And let's just say Isaac Okoro does jump up to about 15 a game. Y'all do the math. That ain't bad for your 5. And then Karis LeVert to come and give you 12. Max Strus can give you 10 to 12. George Niang gives you a few buckets. Oh, man. That leaves them in a spot where they would have to make a decision on Isaac Okoro. Do you let him walk and let somebody else pay him? Or do you pay him? Or do you trade him? But as far as with Imoni, I believe he's going to somehow, some way play his way into the Cavaliers rotation. And I don't think it matters how good Strus or Niang or Ty Jerome or any of the new guys play. I think Imoni Bates will find his way onto the inside of this rotation. Who is your realistic perfect trade deadline acquisition? Oh man. That's a loaded question. I got Chris Cargile. Snap. Oh man, to be perfectly honest, it's the Miles Turner, Buddy Hield. It's that. And I know you won't trade within the division, especially if Indiana is somewhat hovering around the play-in tournament. They have a good team out there. I love Tyrese Halliburton. I'm a huge Tyrese Halliburton fan. I love that kid's game. But and there, who do you move? Who's moving? Are you packaging Isaac Okoro's expiring contract and Jared Allen's $100 million deal, which at this point I believe has 3 years left and $75 million? Do you make that trade to get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner? And it means you would take on a whole lot of more money. That's like I'm putting all my chips in the middle of the table, and I'm going for a championship. And you can put Miles Turner next to Evan Mobley, especially if he's going to be a force on the offensive end. You can put him there, and you can let Miles Turner go to work at power forward. You can make those two guys interchangeable. That's my realistic. Final question. No, not final question. How long is JB's leash? I think this season. If they take another step, I think he has another year. But if they take any steps back, I think JB's out. Who they bring in, I have the slightest idea. Does Kobe Altman show stones and say, hey, I'll make Greg Buckner his assistant, JB Bickerstaff's assistant, the head coach? Does he dip into the G League and say, hey, Mike Garrity, come up? I don't think he reaches for Mark Jackson. I think Mark Jackson is past coaching. Would he bring in a Doc Rivers or somebody? I don't know. I think JB at least has this season. If not that. And finally, can this team rise up the ranks with Evan as the secondary playmaker? because Donovan is best suited as a killer, not a secondary playmaker. Evan is extremely underrated as a post/extended elbow hub. I think Evan Mobley is the key to everything. When Evan Mobley emerges as the second best player, I think the sky's the limit for the Cavs. If Darius Garland's your primary playmaker, Donovan Mitchell is your primary scorer, Evan Mobley is and if Mobley is your secondary playmaker and your secondary scoring and your second scoring option, that means he's going crazy. That means Donovan is averaging 27, 28, and Evan Mobley is giving you 26. And I believe Garland would sacrifice averaging 20, getting his 18 and his 10, 12 assists, or leading the league in assists, Darius Garland. Sky's the limit there. But as I stated on Club Pizzle, I believe that this team can get the 3 seed. I don't know what the love affair with the Philadelphia 76ers is. Is it Joel Embiid is the reigning MVP and Tyrese Maxey is going to be an all-star this year? And Tobias Harris finally gets up out of his funk that he's been in what seems like the last 3 years. Unless all that happens. And Nick Nurse is their coach. Come on. I don't get it. Only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference I think are better than the Cleveland Cavaliers are the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. That's it. That's what I got there. That's it. Thank y'all for tuning in to this. I'm trying to keep these things as short as I possibly can. Be on the lookout for Pizzle's picks tomorrow, and be on the lookout for Club Pizzle on Thursday. And also, full disclosure, we'll be back either this Friday or next Tuesday, one of the two. I had to push back the recording of that. You know, adults, we are adults. We all get busy at times. But here's to a great Cleveland Cavaliers season. Here's to making an improvement on what was done last season and taking the next step into getting the Cleveland Cavaliers their first NBA championship since 2016. Here's to this team building their own legacy. And here's to this team winning a championship without LeBron James, which this fan base seems to be so freaking obsessed with and obsessed about, is this team winning a championship and being successful without LeBron James. So, good luck to the guys. They open up tomorrow night at Atlanta. I will be at the home opener on Friday. So, thank y'all for tuning in to this Cleveland Cavaliers preview, this happy hour special. I will have more of these to come. Be on the lookout for some Cleveland Charge stuff here in the near future on this network. So y'all already know what to say. Protect your peace, protect your energy. The message is more important than the messenger. And creators, be great. Stay positive, because negative energy is trash. Peace, y'all.